Good afternoon and welcome back to the Stadio School of Education Distance Learning event. This the 7th of March 2020. If you're just joining us, a warm welcome to our staff and students watching online via YouTube or Zoom across the country in our learning centers or in our auditoriums on our campuses, Durban Musgrave, Waterfall, Midrand and Montana Pretoria. We have two sessions left today. Our first session is EFT100, English for Teachers, for the Higher Certificate Program with the lecturer, Ms. Sonia Supersad. And after that, we will have FMGR 101 for the Diploma in Grade R, and that's the Fundamental Maths for Grade R.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody who's watching this live, and to the other campuses. Thank you for being here and sacrificing your Saturday afternoon. Right, welcome to English for Teachers, EFT100. Before I proceed, is everybody that's seated here, did you register in January 2020? Yes. Okay, I'm asking this question because the module is a year-long module. So some students did register last year as well, right? So EFT100, as I just said, it is a year-long module. You start in January, you write your exam in November, you pass, and you're free to go. It is 24 credits, okay? So in today's session, instead of going through a full-on lecture, I'm going to give you a brief overview. I'm going to take you through the assignment. And I've prepared the session based on most of the queries that I received thus far. Okay, so basically in regard to your test, your assignment, and your study material. So let's proceed. Right, your prescribed text for the module, as you can see, it is the study manual. It is very important that you get this. You have to purchase this via Wisebox. Okay, so please ensure that you get this. This will definitely help you specifically for your tests, right? And then you can see a referencing guide. So you need to have this book as soon as possible, please. You will have to use this prescribed book in conjunction with the lecture notes that I do put up for you. Your referencing guide, the second bullet point, it is available for you on your ECI page. Is everybody seated here? Are you comfortable with ECI thus far? Do you know how to navigate through it? Yes? Okay, I'm going to try and help you with some screenshots. I'm not going to go through the page itself, but I can show you where you can find stuff. Okay? Thus far, are there any questions from the other campuses? So, as I said, your referencing guide, that is available already. And when you open up on your ECI page, you go to EFT100, and you will see these bullet points there. Your MBURG referencing guide techniques, the guide for that is here. It is very important because you will have to use this in your assignment. Okay? In your assignment, referencing counts for 10%. So this is the guide that will teach you how to go about doing that. Right. Moving on, your tutor callback scheduler, that is also very important for you. So if need be that you need to contact me or speak to me, you would book a callback appointment via that. And the DL support office will then put that through to me, and then I'll call you back. Alternatively, you can message me on your ECI page, right? But if there is something more specific, then we can use that feature. Right, moving on. In terms of your assessments, you can see you have online tests, your assignment, and your exam. Now, why I don't have a waiting for your online test is because you need to do it as a prerequisite prior to your assignment, but it does not have a weighting to it, okay? So at the end of it, you cannot come to me and say, but I did all my online tests, but it's not counting towards my DP. It is a prerequisite. So you need to get 75% for each of your online tests. There's 3 online tests in total, and you need to have all of that done before you submit your assignment. Your online tests are already open, so you can do it from today till whenever, as long as it is before your assignment. There's unlimited attempts to it, so you can do it as many times as you want to until you achieve your 75%. Right? Your assignment is worth 20%, right? And it is just one assignment. It is due in September. So you have some time from now. And then your exam is in November, but as you can see, the weighting is very large. It's 80% of your marks. So if I were you, work on your assignment to the best of your ability, so you don't have to be extremely scared in the exam, right? It is easy to get marks in the assignment. I'll take you through that just now. Right, your assessment guide that tells you in detail what your assignment is about is on your ECI page. If you open up that page, you will see it's right at the top. Right, this is the calendar feature on your ECI page. If you click or if you navigate through it, when you go to September, you will see that your date is already filled in there for the 7th of September. So that is when that assignment is due, right? You cannot submit after that. You can try before that, but the link for submission is not yet uploaded, okay? So I did get some queries, but we cannot see the link. That is because it is due in September. I will open that link up for you probably around end of July. Okay. Thus far, are there any questions? No. On the other campuses? Okay. Right. In terms of the course content, what you will be learning in this module, as the name says, English for Teachers, we're basically taking you back to primary school. Okay. So the reason for this, you probably ask, okay, but I'm in tertiary. Why do we go back to primary? Many of us, because we've learned this such a long time ago, we actually tend to forget about it, or we don't take it too seriously. And when we are writing as future teachers, we do make errors. Okay, so in your manual, when you get your manual, you will see there are 3 study sessions in it. Each of your online tests, hence there's 3 online tests, is based on each study session. So if you want to go through all the study sessions and then answer your online test, it's entirely up to you. Okay, and it gets marked automatically, so I don't mark it physically. So study session 1, which is entitled lesson 1 as well, is based on your English language skills. Study session 2 is in speaking skills, and then study session 3, we have reading skills and writing skills. So language skills, obviously self-explanatory. What about speaking skills and reading skills? Why do you need to learn about speaking skills? Any thought on that? I can see you're tired and you're bored and you're frustrated about sitting here on a Saturday afternoon. Let's try to make this a little bit more interactive. Perfect, perfect. Because you are teaching young children, you need to be able to interact, right? Anybody else? Any other reasons? Okay, what about when you're writing your assignments to submit to us? Now, there's a huge misconception. Sometimes people have this concept that, but I did really well in grade 12 with my writing skills and my essay writing, so I should be fine. And then they come to tertiary and they get back their first assignment and they receive 40% or 30% instead of the 80% that they used to. Okay, the reason is because the tertiary, the standard is a bit different. Okay, so it's not like we just tell you that and leave you out on your own. We try to hold your hand and teach you the transition. So I will put up slides, I will put up material for you, how to write an essay, how to go through all of this. Okay, so your speaking skills as well, that is in terms of your assignment. I will show that to you just now. And then your reading skills helps you for your comprehension, okay, which features in your exam, and your writing skills for your assignment. Right, so in terms of your language skills, these are some of the things that you will be looking at. As I said, it's back to basics, but when you look at your study manual, you will see verbs. There's a whole lot of verbs. Nouns, there's different nouns. There's 12 different types of adjectives, 12 different groups, right? There's about 8 classes of nouns and pronouns. I'm not expecting you to know each one of that, okay? So thankfully, there will be more specific stuff that I need you to know. Closer to the exam, I will put up some sort of guideline, what you can leave out. Your study manual is 100+ pages, right? And Unit 1 itself, which is on language skills, is huge. So you cannot, it's not humanly possible to learn everything. Right, so this is some of the stuff. Dictionary work, you're probably asking yourself, how does one get tested on dictionary work? Okay, so what I can do with dictionary work is, obviously you all know how to use a dictionary since you're here now, right? I can take a screenshot from the dictionary about a word, and I can base questions on that. Okay, so I'll put up some examples on your ECI page for you on what questions I can ask you. For example, the function of the word, the context of the word, a synonym for the word, okay? The history of the word. All of that will be based in that screenshot. I can use that in an exam or test situation. I can pull out a screenshot from the extract, or I can take a word from the comprehension passage, and I can find that in the dictionary, take a screenshot and put it in your paper, and then ask you questions based on that. Punctuation, I'm sure you all are familiar with that, right? People still have an issue where to place your comma, where to place this colon, semicolon, yes? Your dash, your hyphen, right? All of that can form part of your comprehension questions. So I can take out extracts from the comprehension and base questions on punctuation on that. And then participles. For example, your a and the and an, okay? So as you can see, these are very basic, very primary stuff that some of us just, it becomes such a way of writing that we actually don't even put thought into it that we're using this, okay? So this is basically your unit 1, your session 1, your language skills. I'm skipping to session 3, which is your writing skills, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. Session 1 and session 3 are very important for your exams, okay? Session 3 is your essay writing skills, which also has objective writing, your narrative, and your fable. In your exam, this forms some of the bigger questions. Right, so just on the topic of writing, what types of writing do we get? Anybody? What types of writing do you get? Academic, formal, subjective, objective? Pardon? Creative. What are other examples of writing? So you write an essay, what else can you write? So there's one thing on the slide I do not have there that you will cover in this section. What about writing a formal email? Right, which is something that we all have to do in this day and age. I still get students sending me an email saying, hi, right? Is that academic? Okay, so in the exam, I actually ask you to write a formal email as well. Proper formal email with the conventions, your salutations, all of that. In terms of essay writing, what goes into an essay? Anybody? Introduction, body, conclusion? Is that it? I can hear you saying it. Be brave.
introduction, body, and conclusion.
Okay, thank you for trying. So you are right. You are right. You are also right. So you have your introduction, you have the body, you have conclusion. What happens is at tertiary, we try to expand on that. So the introduction, we actually, in this module, I will actually show you what goes in the introduction. Okay? I'll actually show you in the body of it, the paragraphs that go into it. And then the conclusion. So if I had to talk about an introduction, what do you think goes in the introduction? Okay, what the essay is about. What else? Okay, so one of the main things about your introduction is your position, right? So basically your introduction is your map of what your essay is about. So as a lecturer, if we see a good introduction, we already have an idea, okay, this is going to be a good essay or a bad essay, right? So your introduction, there's basically 5 steps, say 4 or 5 steps. You basically give your reader an idea of what the essay is about. You take your position. Now try at this stage to refrain from saying, I totally agree with something, or I totally disagree with something. Now students sometimes get a bit passionate when they're writing, okay? I'm talking about essay writing, not narrative, not fable as yet, essay writing. Stay away from saying, I strongly agree, or I strongly disagree. When you are doing that, you are becoming subjective. And academic writing is basically about being objective. When you become subjective, you leave very little room for an argument. And academic writing is basically about writing an argument on paper. Okay? So you start off by giving your reader an idea of what the essay is about. You take a position, literally as in saying, this essay will agree with whatever, or one agrees with whatever the statement is, the topic. You go on then to give your reader an idea of the factors that you will discuss. Okay? When I say factors, as in the reasons for your position. So typically, an essay will have approximately 3 or 4 reasons for your position, right? From there, each of those reasons, your factors, becomes one paragraph in the body. So you need to put a lot of thought into that. And then finally, you tell us the purpose of what your essay is about, or the purpose of you writing this essay. Okay? That's your intro in a nutshell. Now, I'm just talking to you about this. I will put it up in a PowerPoint and put it up for you on ECI. Right? That is your intro. Then the body. Each of those factors that you mentioned in your introduction now expands and becomes one paragraph each. So one factor, one thought, one idea is one paragraph. So then what goes into each paragraph? How do you expand on each paragraph? Okay, so I just said each of those factors becomes one paragraph. Each paragraph then has to start off with a topic sentence. Okay? That topic sentence is basically introducing that factor. You then expand on that factor, as in you elaborate, as in your viewpoint about it, but you still be very objective. So how do you be objective in academic writing? You refrain from using the words I. Okay? You then provide proof, as in your evidence, your referencing, and then you show us the link of how it is still relevant to the topic. So literally after each paragraph, you need to ask yourself, is this relevant, what I wrote here, is this relevant to what the topic is asking me about? Okay? You do that for each paragraph, for each factor that you mentioned in the intro. And then your conclusion. Now students have a problem about writing a conclusion. And many times in terms of academic writing, they make the mistake of giving us a Cry Africa conclusion. What do I mean by a Cry Africa conclusion? So they want to end off with some inspirational quote by some famous person, or some of the times in terms of a language module, and therefore we must preserve our language because it is a beautiful language. Now that's what I mean by a Cry Africa story. So you do not do that in academic writing. Your conclusion is basically a summary of everything that you just wrote. What I tell students is it is a mirror of your introduction. So if you can write a good introduction, your conclusion is basically a mirror of that, but in the past tense. What I mean by past tense, in the intro, everything that you said, this essay will discuss X, Y, and Z. In your conclusion, it becomes the past tense. To conclude, this essay has discussed, or this essay discussed. The following factors were made reference to. Okay? That is basically your conclusion. Simple. Right. I'm moving away from essay writing to your fable and narrative. Are there any questions though on essay writing before I move on? On the other campuses? No? Okay. I hope everybody's still awake, right? Yes. That is a lovely question. Thank you. So your colleague just asked me if a paragraph can be more than 5 lines. Okay, so typically a paragraph should be between 5 and 10 lines. Now, we're not pedantic where we expect you to go back and count each line, but the marker generally has an idea if it's more than 10 lines. Okay, so if a paragraph is a 2-line of something is not a paragraph. So you're looking between 5 and 10 lines, right? By the same token, some students give us paragraphs which are 3/4 of a page. Okay, that is not a paragraph. If you have a lot to write about something, split it into 2 separate paragraphs. Okay, I'll give you an example. Sometimes for some factors, there's a lot to discuss. You then confuse as a student, where is the right point for me to split this? Let us look at language as a factor, right? Language can be used in terms of writing and in terms of speaking. If I were to write a paragraph on language, you can already see it's one factor, but 2 different aspects, right? So you can split it. You can first talk about it, language in terms of writing, and then the next paragraph you start, language in terms of speaking, okay? But you would do the same routine in terms of topic, sentence, proof, purpose, all of that, okay? In terms of your fable and narrative, right? That is, I think, the more exciting part of this module, because in your assignment, you are asked to write a fable or a narrative, right? And that is where you can be creative. So, for example, when I take you through the fable just now, I will show you, it is where your characters can talk, your imagination is unlimited, right? So, can I move on from here? Right, I'll come back to the narrative and fable when I take you through your assignment. So the importance of each of the sessions in terms of your study manual, I'm putting it out there up front. Session 1, right, is important for your online tests, it's important for your assignment and your final examination. Now, I'm telling you this all up front because I have no intention of tricking you or trying to give you more work than needed, right? I understand that you have other stuff and other modules to look at, so I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. Session 2, in terms of your book, it's used for your speaking skills and for part C, which is your speech, right? And session 3 is used for part A and B of your assignment and your final exam. As I said, and I'm still stressing, your final exam, session 3, is very important. It covers much of the larger questions. Do you need a minute to take this down? Can I move on? Yes. A second more. Okay. Right, moving on. I'm speaking about your assignment now, which is due in September. But because there's so many parts to it, and you have to submit all the parts as one, so it is one document that you upload. There are 3 parts, but it is one assignment and uploaded as one document. Right? So part A of your assignment is you choose to write either a narrative or a fable. Right? So a narrative is basically you telling a story about something, but your characters are not, it is not animals, or it's basically about humans, right? Whereas your fable, I'll show you that just now, is where you can use any animal or anything and give it human-like qualities. So basically your personification, or we use the term, you anthropomorphize it, right? So if if you choose to write a fable, I will expect you to have a dialogue in it. Even in terms of a narrative, I'll still expect you to have a dialogue. I think when I explain the question, you will have a better picture of what I'm talking about, right? So your part A is either a narrative or a fable. Part B is poetry. And then part C is your speech, okay? So part A, you choose one of this. If you choose to write the fable, it must be original. Please do not try to be smart and go online and find other fables and just change or tweak it around. You have to send it to turn it in. So we pick it up, and it's rather you get a low mark, a 50%, instead of getting a 0. So if we find out that you found the story from somewhere else, or if it sounds familiar to us, but you just change the characters, you're obviously going to get a 0 for it, right? So it's between an encounter between a cat, a bee, and a hamster. So I'm not putting any limits on this. Your bee, your cat and hamster, it can fly, it can sing, it can dance, it can do whatever it wants. The setting of the story, it can be 100 years ago, 100 years into the future. It can be an alien cat, it can do whatever it wants, right? Use your imagination. There's no limits for either of these. But it has to be, you have to have all these 3 in it. These have to be the main characters, right? And I have to see dialogue between all 3 of them. And all 3 of them are the main characters in this, right? So this is your chance to be creative if you're a creative person, right? It has to have a moral or a message in it, or a lesson. Now think after you write this, you are reading this to your preschool class, okay? You don't have to do it, but think if you had to read it. So try for the ending to be something happily ever after. You're not really going to speak to a preschool class. I had one in the past where it was very gruesome, where one animal ate the other animal, and it was under very gruesome situations. So even that's your intention, if you want to be like, the cat always tried to catch the hamster. Okay, that's normal. But don't give us gruesome graphic details of how it ate the hamster up. Okay, your preschool babies will sit and cry. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Try to make it something positive in the end. And has to have a moral in it though. That is some lesson that was learned. So if you're choosing the fable, that's what's expected. If you choose the narrative, it has to be between 2 children who are the same age as your preschool learners, okay? So, and who are trying to help a learner who is experiencing a problem with which is either personal or educational. So the 2 learners, they have to be around the same age as your preschool learners. You can name them, it can be any girls, males, females, whatever, but as long as they're about the similar age. Remember, the more description, because this is creative writing, the more description you give me, the more adjectives you use in this, the better it is for you. So if I have to read this, and if it takes me like a proper story into the setting, I can get an idea of the scene of this and all of that. It's better for you, the higher your mark will be, right? So this is where you can use all your adjectives. 2 to 3 pages in length for either, if you write either one of them. If you give me 2 pages of quality, I'm fine with that, right? But do not give me half a page or 1 page, then you failed. Right, can I move on from this? Part B of your assignment is on poetry. So here you select and provide the details. So there's 3 parts to this part B itself. So I would expect 3 different paragraphs for part B. Your first paragraph is where you give me brief details about the class that you're teaching in. Okay? So if you're either teaching there now or if you taught in it before, I would expect the grade, the demographics in terms of how many males, how many females, right? The reading level of the class. You can also tell me if any children have an issue with reading or whatever problems they have in class, how you cope with that, right? That's your first paragraph. Your second paragraph, you choose one of the poems from ECI. If you look on ECI now, currently, the poems are not up as yet. They will be up by the end of next week. I'll probably give you a choice of 3. You choose one. From that, you analyze, give a brief analysis of one. When I say brief analysis, as in you use poetic devices. I'll put up notes for you on poetic devices. You talk to me and you'll write about alliteration, personification, rhythm, rhyme, all of that in terms of how you analyze the poem. You will need to do referencing for that section, right? Hence your referencing guide that I told you, which is an ECI, is so important. Why you would need to use referencing? If you explain to me, for example, stanza 2, line 3, this refers to personification. You need to tell me, personification is defined as X, Y, and Z, according to which author or which site. That is where you would bring your in-text referencing in, right? And then you would give me the example from the poem and explain it. So that's your analysis. That should take you another 2 or 3 paragraphs, right? The analysis of the poem. Then the last paragraph of part B, you have to basically show me how you will use that poem in a class, like how you would do a lesson plan, okay? But it's just 1 paragraph, so you don't have to go in too much of detail, but basically telling me how you would use that poem in your preschool class, how you would teach this to your learners, right? At the end of this, you must provide a detailed reference, you must provide in-text references and a reference list. Okay. Are there any questions on this section? Referencing. So there's 2 types of referencing: in-text referencing, that's in each paragraph itself. So for example, if you quote or paraphrase from another person, another source, you have to reference that within the text. That's in-text referencing. But at the end of it, you have a full reference list at the end of your assignment. You can give it after each section, so after each part. So for part B, after that you'll have a reference list, and for part C as well. Or you can give me one right at the end, after part C, like full on for all, right? You would not have a reference list for part A. Why? Because it's creative. It's something that you're doing from your mind, I would hope, right? So that's part, yeah. So part B, you would have a reference list. I would have to see in-text references as well. Remember, it counts 10 marks, 10% of part B. Now, each of these sections, part A, part B, part C, each one is worth 50 marks. So when you look at your assessment guide, there's a rubric for each section. If you would want to score good marks, you would look at that rubric. That is what I would use to mark your work. So you would be able to answer each of those questions in that rubric, right? Can I move on? Right, part C. So you would have to write a speech on one of the following topics, right? And it's fairly simple. The topics are fairly simple. How would you manage teaching in a classroom with language barriers in the foundation phase, or a teacher that influenced your life? Whichever of those topics that you choose, I would expect you to do some sort of research. So for example, a classroom with language barriers, you can do research on what can be used to decrease that barrier, or what can be used to help children with a barrier in class, or with a problem with learning, right? A teacher that influenced your life, you can talk about that teacher, but try to bring in some research. So for example, if a teacher taught you about learning discipline in a classroom, find sources about something about discipline. the more research that I see that you put into this, obviously the higher your mark would be, right? Now, after this is where the interesting part comes. Okay, can I move on? So for part C, these are the steps that you need to follow. You need to research and write out your speech. That's step 1. Step 2, you need to video yourself delivering the speech. Right? I know some people are not happy, but this is the way forward. So, right, video yourself delivering the speech. I mean, you are distance learning. You don't have the liberty of coming to class and me assessing you. Hence, I'm doing this for the broad spectrum of all students. Right? You have to video yourself delivering the speech. It can be in the classroom, in front of your learners, or it can be wherever you're comfortable. Now, last year or the year before, a student took that comfortable a bit too far. She literally did hers on the bed in pajamas. Please do not do that, right? I'm saying comfortable, not that comfortable. So no pajamas, right? But try to keep it formal because it is for marks, and it should be around 3 minutes long. So if it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds, it's fine. But don't give me something that's 6 minutes, right? There's a lot, many hundreds of students for EFT. So I cannot watch a 6-minute long clip for each person, right? I'm going to be assessing that. Step 3, after you video yourself, save that video and upload it onto YouTube. Now, if you have problems about uploading onto YouTube, there is a nice guide, right? Because you don't want to be famous. There's a nice guide on your ECI page, which I will make available to you, which shows you how you can restrict it, that not everybody can see you if you don't want to be found, right? And then you copy the link from YouTube. So you don't put your video in the assignment. Remember, you're submitting electronically, so no hard copies. You then take that link from that video and you paste it under part C of your assignment. And that's ensure that the link works, please. Right? So test it before you send it to me. If that link is not working when I open it, unfortunately, you're going to get 0 out of 50 for that section. Right? So the whole assignment is worth 150 marks, and then I work it out for a percentage, okay? So each part is 50 out of 50. Are there any issues with this so far? I know some people have reservations. Are there any issues? No, you don't have to. You're asking some nice questions. Thank you. You do not have to send me the hard copy of the speech. Right? I just want for part C, it will just read part C and the link for the video. That is it. And then your references that you used in your speech. So a reference list as well. Right. So when you look at your ECI page, when I make this visible to you, you will see a how-to guide on how to upload onto YouTube. Mr. Goldstone seated here has actually developed this how-to guide, and students have been using this. It's actually a good way. You learn how to upload onto YouTube, all the steps, how to restrict access from public viewing you and all of that, right? I'm not tech savvy, but this is going to explain it to you in detail. So look at this. Right. Are there any other questions about this? No. So all of this, part A, B, and C, everything is one document, remember. Okay. Right. And that brings me to the end. Are there any questions? Anything that you would like to know about any section? How are we for 7 minutes? Okay. Any questions? No. Thank you so much. Have a lovely Saturday afternoon.